We're going to keep this one a little bit shorter because I'm not feeling so well. Also, my face is a bit messed up, so you don't want that on screen for long, do you? So, Titans Episode 6. Quick synopsis. It's a really simple one too, I can sum it up pretty quickly. Basically, it's just Dick Grayson and Jason Todd team up to go find a murderer who's picking off members of Dick's old circus. All the time, Dick learning more about who Jason Todd is, what his take on fighting crime is, and coming to terms with the fact that he's been replaced as a Robin and finding his own identity, which is all very important stuff, as well as coming to terms with a kind of shady thing he did when he was younger. So all in all, very Dick Grayson-centric episode. We'll get the stuff I didn't like out of the way first, because it's quick and easy to do. First of all, I know it would have been a lot messier if they had kept all of the Titans in this episode for equal screen time and stuff, but their presence was sorely missed anyway, especially Rachel and Gar. Honestly, my favorite thing about the show at this stage. So when I went an episode without my favorite part of the show in it, their absence was noticed, we'll say that, as well as Starfire, who got somewhat more screen time, but still probably not enough for my liking. But still, again, if they were all on screen for longer, then everything would have just gotten a bit too confusing in terms of the point of the story. I understand why it had to be like that, but it's still something that bummed me out a bit. Also, the villain, Zuko Jr., the son of the guy who killed Robin's parents, wasn't that interesting, honestly. He was just your average revenge story. I mean, it felt like they wanted to go with Two-Face because of the burns on his face, but they couldn't, so they just went with this no-namer guy instead. That's what it feels like to me, anyway. Also, the show goes into this sort of monster of the week type thing for just like the one-off story of like, here's this side quest, I guess. It's like, again, it would have been hard to relate Dick's struggle back to the main plot, but to me, felt like that episode of Stranger Things in the second season, where we just got this whole episode of 11 doing her own thing in the city. I mean, we needed that backstory to learn a little bit more about her, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a little bit out of place. So that's what that felt like to me. This episode, just important to get to where it was, but still somewhat disjointed across the grand narrative that's been built the past few episodes. That being said, let's talk about some good stuff, because it's not all bad. It's never all bad. Finally, we've got some good character development for Dick outside of he got damaged. The exploration of like his identity crisis, I guess you could call it, because of the arrival of Jason Todd, was quite interesting. We knew from previous episodes he'd been trying to leave Robin behind, but now that he'd been actively replaced, he's forced to now, more than ever, to move on from Robin. And looking at Jason Todd, it seems he wants to distance himself more and more from the Robin persona, for reasons I'll get into when I discuss Jason Todd as a character. If anything, this episode seems to be setting up an appearance of Nightwing, which would be awesome, because I always felt like at the age that Brenton Thwaites is and looks and is acting as the character, he is supposed to be around the age of Nightwing instead of Robin, so it's the logical way to go for the show. So I'm stoked to see that. It might not seem like that because I'm a little bit monotone today, but yeah, no, that should be interesting. We also get a little bit more on possibly the beginning of Dick's descent into ultra-violence, beginning with him leaving a man to die, the man who killed his parents, to be specific, leaving him to be shot to death by the Maronis. I've seen a couple of people reacting with frustration at this, like, oh, so basically that means Robin killed someone. And it's like, yes, but only in the same way that the Batman kills Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. It's like he didn't kill him, he just didn't have to save him. And yes, he goes into the scene more likely than not intending to kill Zuko, but the whole point was he realized he couldn't do it himself. But if he allowed outside forces to do it, he felt his conscience wouldn't be compromised. As the episode progresses, it turns out his conscience was compromised anyway, and he still felt as if he'd killed Zuko and he'd taken the blame for himself. But it's still following the reasoning for Robin in the moment is much like following the reasoning for Batman in Batman Begins. It's much the same thing. It's not like Robin was the one who pulled out the gun and shot Zuko in the head. Let's talk about Jason Todd, because he's the only other real character in this. Well, the only one worth discussing anyway. I mean, they have a bunch of characters related to the people in the circus, but honestly, they're kind of bland. All the characters in this are written to be pretty bland, actually, except for Dick and Jason. Jason was interesting, though, because I started out thinking from the trailers and from the last episode, hey, he's going to be fun. He'll be like that new naive kid on the block who still hasn't learned how brutal crime fighting can be. But through the episode, we learn not only does he know, but he revels in it. Unlike Dick, who hates how violent he gets when he puts on the Robin costume, Jason Todd just straight up enjoys it. Especially, he has a thing about beating the shit out of cops, because he doesn't like policemen. And, we just learned that all in all, Jason Todd's a real piece of work. And this does make sense in context of the comics, I guess, because he does go full Red Hood. But I wasn't expecting the show to take us from young, naive Jason Todd that we're all expecting to just awful person within one episode, if they're going to do it at all. So kudos to them for that. And he and Dick had a lot of really good moments together. The way they bounced off of each other was at first funny, but then once it did get serious, it was still pretty effective. That's the word I'm looking for. This one was a little bit more rambling than usual, but with the brain space I'm in right now, that's probably the closest to an intelligible review of this episode we're going to get. So I'm just going to sum it up now. It was a good episode. I didn't think it was as good as Together or Doom Patrol. Those two are still my favorite episodes of the season so far, but this was still a solid episode, and I look forward to the next one. And I'm going to turn this off now and edit this, and then get some sleep. In the meantime, obligatory speech about that like and that subscribe button. I know I promised I'd get some more stuff out over this week, but that just didn't happen because I spent the week writing music and playing Minecraft. Yes, I still play Minecraft. It is a legitimate game. Get off my butt. Anyway, having said all that, I will see you later.